Now, holistic wellness is conceived as the very best state of health a person can possibly be. It's a condition in which the physical, psychological and spiritual states of an individual are at an optimum and run synchronously with each other, attaining a perfect balance. For more on this, we're now joined on the telephone by Mr Anton Van Niekerk, who is a registered Natural Health Practitioner. Thanks so much for joining us and welcome to the program.
Good day, Peter. Thank you for having me on your show.
This sounds quite esoteric and almost, one of the things we'd love to attain, but sometimes we get too busy just doing life that we don't have time to think about this. And yet it sounds as if that's probably what we need to focus on.
Definitely, yes, because ultimately that's what we should all be aiming for, is to have that balanced life, to have a holistic and wellness, situation. But the balance is not always that easily achieved, especially if you're going through stressful times, like I think all of us had recently experienced.
All right, so what is holistic health? I mean, I've said something in the introduction, but help me unpack it a bit more.
Okay. It has a total different approach to health. It encompasses your mindfulness, obviously the physical, spiritual, basically connecting mind, body and soul, and looking at all aspects to create that sort of balance within a person.
Life is really difficult when you're unemployed, you're locked down. How are you able to do this balance, this holistic thing, when you're busy worrying about your next meal?
Yeah, there are various techniques that we use in our sort of alternative healing and wellness therapies. And a lot of them are things that we need to do anyway. And that would be things like exercise, which obviously helps to improve your mood, lift depression, boost your self-esteem, and to lessen that anxiety I think that everyone has been experiencing. And it doesn't need to be strenuous exercise. It could be walking, doing practices like yoga, tai chi, even swimming is very good. And exercise is seen as nature's antidepressant. Another thing that's very important technique that we use is breathing, which can be, we have to breathe to survive in any event. So you can use it as a bridge between mind and body, and there are practices like Qigong and certain stretches that you use your breathing in as well. And then try and relax as much as you can. Relaxation is vital for good health, helps to combat stress and gives the body time to replenish its energy so that it can function better. Another technique that we find is very useful but does take a bit of practice is meditation. And meditation helps to restrain the wandering mind and helps with mindfulness and experiencing things as they really are and in the now. And it also helps to give you clearer thinking and, finding solutions for very difficult situations as well. Another technique that we like to use is visualization, where we use imagination to create particular states of mind of being. So those are just some of the alternative techniques that we try and encourage people to use to get above all of these unusual circumstances, really.
What about spiritual wellness? I mean, is that a question of just going to church, or how else can we tap into our spiritual richness?
I think that's a very personal thing, and that's something that a person has to go within and, have that connection to whatever your belief system is. But it is very important to have that balance, because that gives you hope. And without hope, we can't really see the way forward.
All right, and I suppose part of this journey is what we put into our mouths.
Oh, yes, definitely, Peter. And unfortunately, a lot of people go to the wrong things, which can create stress. And that is also part is seen as chemical and nutritional stress. When the body receives a continued intake of harmful substances, for example, smoking and too much alcohol, and even caffeine for that matter, can have a harmful side effect, because what it basically does, all these substances, it actually it has an effect on the central nervous system. It sort of doesn't make it function properly, and it brings your blood pressure up. It's bad for cholesterol. So, the long-term effects aren't really worthwhile to go into that. Rather seek other crutches in life that would have less harmful effects.
And I suppose rest also. I think sometimes we underestimate just how much rest can contribute to our wellness.
Definitely. I would say preferably 8 hours of uninterrupted sleep is very important. And it's difficult if you're worried about how you're going to get through life to get there. But I think if we go back to those other techniques that I mentioned earlier, your breathing, your exercise, that will help also with your sleeping patterns and rest in general.
How important are relationships and community to our wellness as well?
It's very important, because if you don't have proper relationships, you can go through emotional stress. So to be in a good relationship with people around you as a support and just to speak to people also really helps you get through things. But if you don't have that and you're in constant conflict with people, it's going to even create more stress and disharmony within.
And I suppose that this is something that you have to be more conscious of and actually practice to get better at having a more balanced life.
Yeah, to maintain that balance is not always that easy. And if I can use some terms that we ultimately reach for, is the state of what we call equilibrium or homeostasis, which it takes a lot of practice to try and get there. It's not just going to happen. There's no quick fix for this. You have to work towards it. And only you can do it for yourself. Nobody else can create that. It's finding that inner peace.
Anton Van Niekerk, thanks very, very much indeed for joining us on the program and giving us a few important things to reflect on. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you.